Is Nigeria becoming a one-party state? In recent months, Nigerian politics has been dominated by a familiar but troubling pattern. Politicians abandoning their parties and defecting to the ruling party, the All Progressives Congress, APC. Governors, senators, members of the House of Representatives, and even influential political figures who once stood firmly in opposition are now crossing over to the party in power. The question many Nigerians are beginning to ask is simple but serious. Is Nigeria slowly drifting toward becoming a one-party state? At first glance, defections are not unusual in Nigerian politics. Party loyalty has never been particularly strong. Politicians frequently move from one platform to another, often citing the interest of their constituents or the need to align with the center. But the scale and speed of the current wave of defections have raised eyebrows across the country. Many of those leaving opposition platforms, such as the People's Democratic Party, PDP, or the Labour Party, have offered familiar explanations. Some say they want to work more closely with the federal government to attract development to their states. Others argue that political stability requires cooperation with the ruling party. These reasons may sound reasonable on the surface, but Nigerians have heard them before. Beneath the language of development and alignment, many suspect more practical motivations are at play. In Nigeria's political environment, being in the ruling party often comes with clear advantages. Access to federal resources, influence over appointments, protection from political isolation, and sometimes even protection from investigations or political persecution are all perceived benefits of joining the party in power. In a system where political survival often depends on proximity to power, many politicians see defection as a form of insurance. There is also the reality of electoral calculations. As the next election cycle slowly approaches, many politicians want to position themselves where they believe victory is most likely. If the ruling party appears dominant, defecting early can be seen as a strategic move to secure political relevance and access to party structures ahead of future elections. But while these calculations may make sense for individual politicians, they raise deeper questions about the health of Nigeria's democracy. Democracy thrives on competition. A strong opposition is not an inconvenience, it is an essential pillar of democratic governance. Opposition parties provide scrutiny, offer alternative policies, and ensure that those in power remain accountable to the people. When opposition parties weaken significantly, the entire political system can tilt dangerously toward imbalance. Nigeria has experienced something similar before. During the early years of the Fourth Republic, the People's Democratic Party dominated the political landscape for many years, leading some critics at the time to describe the country as moving toward a dominant party system. Yet even then, opposition forces eventually reorganized and challenged the status quo, culminating in the historic 2015 election that brought the All Progressives Congress to power for the first time at the federal level. The lesson from that period is clear. Democracy requires balance. When one party becomes overwhelmingly powerful, two risks often emerge. The first is complacency. Without strong opposition pressure, governments may become less responsive to public concerns. Policies may go unchallenged, mistakes may go uncorrected, and accountability can weaken. The second risk is the gradual erosion of political pluralism. When politicians begin to believe that only one party offers a viable path to power, they abandon ideological commitments and move purely according to political convenience. Over time, parties lose their identity, and voters are left with fewer meaningful choices. For ordinary Nigerians, the implications are significant. Elections become less competitive, political debate becomes less vibrant, and public confidence in democracy may begin to decline. Citizens may start to feel that their choices at the ballot box matter less when political actors themselves seem to treat parties as interchangeable vehicles for power. However, it is important not to jump to conclusions too quickly. Nigeria is still a vibrant and complex political environment. Opposition parties remain active, civil society remains vocal, and the electorate has demonstrated in the past that it can surprise the political establishment. The country's democratic institutions, while imperfect, still provide space for political contestation and debate. Ultimately, the future of Nigeria's democracy will depend on several factors. Opposition parties must reorganize and strengthen their internal structures. They must present credible alternatives and reconnect with citizens beyond election periods. Political parties must also begin to stand for clear ideas and policies rather than serving merely as platforms for political ambition. Equally important is the role of Nigerian voters. Democracy does not thrive simply because elections are held. It thrives when citizens demand accountability, pay attention to political developments, and insist that those who seek power do so with genuine commitment to public service. The current wave of defections may be a strategic calculation by politicians seeking relevance and survival. But for the broader democratic system, it raises questions that Nigerians cannot afford to ignore. Is this simply another cycle in the country's fluid political landscape, or is it the early sign of a more troubling shift toward political dominance by a single party? Nigeria's democratic journey has always been marked by moments of uncertainty and transformation. Whether this moment strengthens or weakens the country's democratic foundations will depend on how political actors, institutions, and citizens respond. But then again, what do we really know? We are just thinking aloud.